Welcome back to Math 155, Section 8.1. In this lecture video, let me show you um, the definition of these two words, and we're gonna kind of look at this particular table I got from another textbook so we can compare between population and sample. All right, types of statistical numbers. The word sample statistics are referring to the numerical description, all right, of sample characteristic. Sample statistics, okay, are for samples. So what are the samples? So what kind of numerical value or description are these? So if you ever hear I say sample mean or sample population, or excuse me, sample mean, sample, excuse me, not sample population, sample standard deviation. Okay, those are considered as sample statistics. Now remember last time I mentioned something about when we want to study a particular population, okay, sometimes it's very, very hard to ask everybody in the population the question you want to ask. Therefore, what we can do is take lots and lots of samples because these sample statistics can eventually help us to estimate, okay, estimate for the population. Okay, that's why we need to know this word called sample statistic. All right, a parameter is referring to the numerical description of a population characteristic. So if we ever say population mean, population standard deviation, those are considered as a parameter. That's what we call them. So two types of numerical numbers, okay? One of them is describing the sample characteristic, one is describing population characteristic, okay? So every time when you hear sample mean, sample standard deviation, those are called sample statistics. Population mean, or maybe like population standard deviation, those are called the parameter. All right, let's take a look at this table real quick. Population versus sample. All right, population is referring to the whole group. Sample is part of the group. Population is a group we ultimately want to know about. Okay. The sample is the group that we actually do know about because we are collecting the sample. So the individual sample size is what we do know. All right. For population, the characteristic is called the parameter. For sample, it's called the sample statistic or the word statistics. I don't really like this plural. Most of the times, I teach students if it's we call them sample statistic without the s. All right. For population, we normally do not know the parameter. Okay, that means we do not really know the true population mean or the true population standard deviation. Now, statistic we can actually compute, okay, our sample statistics. So sample statistics is normally can be found, so we always know those. All right, parameters are normally fixed, so that means we might assume population mean is certain number, or the populations are or population standard deviation are a certain number. So we normally can actually set our parameter as a fixed numerical value. Now for the sample though, every time when we find a sample mean, okay, for different samples that we took, okay, so from this particular sample, this particular picture, if I figure out some sort of sample mean, okay, it might be different from another group of sample I took. Okay, that's very common. Different samples should give you different sample mean because not every sample you took are the same group of people. All right, so let's try this problem. Okay, for the scenarios of statistical study are given below. Decide the study use a sample statistic. All right, let's figure out which one used a sample statistic. An estimated 15% of Americans don't use internet. Is that 15% the sample statistic? No, this 15% is actually a parameter. 15% of Americans, so all Americans. The National Institute of Pediatric Dentistry report that 42% of children aged 2 to 11 have had at least one cavity. So this 42% of all the children between 2 to 11 years old had cavity. So this is actually referred to as a perimeter. 1,000 of the 1883 participants, so this is already a simple number already. These 1,000 students out of 1883 participated in last year's Ironman in Korea. Hawaii were interviewed. Excuse me, not Korea. Kana, Hawaii were interviewed. So 1,000 people got interviewed. 68% of those interviewed, 68% of the 1,000 people interviewed said they became interested in the triathlon after the first competing marathon. So that these 1,000 and the 68% goes together. They are referring to the sample of the 1883. So that's my answer. Alrighty. So that's how we kind of distinguish what a sample statistic is. All right. So in this one right here, identify the population, the sample, any population parameter or sample statistic given. So we need to answer 4 different things, okay? All right, so multiple choice again. So let's see. The average number of hours students in your statistic class study per week, okay, is 10.1. So what's my population? The population got to be the students in the statistic class. Population got to be students in your statistic class. That's population. All right. What would the sample be? There's no sample at all because in this statement there does not say particular number of students within the class. All right. So if there's no sample, then that means there's no sample statistics. So this 10.1 got to be referring to as a population perimeter because the 10.1 is referring to what? The students in the statistic class. All right. So the 10.1 is the population perimeter. So that would have to be this answer right here. All right, let's try another one. 4 scenarios are given. Decide which study use a population perimeter. All right, so I got 4 different cases. Let's see if we can figure out population perimeter here. In a study of 89 of the children diagnosed with a cancer, 70 children were cancer-free 5 years. So 80 out of the 89 children, 70 were cancer-free. So that 70 got to be the sample, okay, statistic. All right, Parkland Hospital performs 1,500 births a year of the 1,000. So that 1,000 is a sample statistic because this 1,000 is out of the 15,000. The National Institute of Pediatric Dentistry report that 42% of children, right? So this 42% again of all the children between age 2 to 11 got to be the population. So this number 42% associated with population perimeter. So that will be my answer. Okay. So just a couple of examples on how we can identify the population perimeter versus the sample statistics. Okay. So these numerical values does or numerical description does attach to whether they are referring to population or statistics. All right. So that will conclude this quick lecture video. Thank you for watching.